How you guys doing? If I plan this correctly, this should be up around Friday morning. I'm out of town right now, so giving you more content. As I said in the other videos, not going to be doing live shows this week, but I will at least have a picks video following practice and qualifying on Saturday. Probably going to be a short 5 to 10, maybe even a 20-minute audio-only video upload on YouTube, but that's just to help you guys out. I'm sorry that I've just been out of town this entire time, but this is to give you at least more content and just to have some fun. You know, I understand at this point you're probably getting ready for Xfinity Series practice and qualifying, and maybe you're just listening to this later. Whatever the case is, I wanted to put something else out there for you. So let's kind of talk about things. We haven't done this in a while since the All-Star race, so I want to talk real quickly about, NASCAR reporters again, NASCAR YouTubers, SiriusXM NASCAR Radio. I think I'm going to end up starting there just due to the fact that I've had more people send me messages and comment and everything referring to SiriusXM NASCAR Radio. Now, I'm not saying that is a terrible channel. I'm not vilifying them. I'm not saying don't listen to them. You guys do whatever you want. I am very much everyone can do whatever they want. I, however, find near nothing useful on that whatsoever. Very similar to NASCAR Race Hub. Although I would probably trust NASCAR Race Hub more than SiriusXM NASCAR Radio. Now, because I've been on the road recently, I said, you know what? I'm going to give SiriusXM NASCAR Radio another chance. I'm just going to listen to it here and there. I got some pretty long drives. I'm on the road for about 6 hours. So, I'll feed in and tune in to different channels during the day. And now, look, there are some people on that channel who do good things. I think Claire B. Lang is a really good reporter, one of the only people I would actually trust on that channel. And when I say trust, I mean, look, she's doing her job. I don't believe that they're a great insight for fantasy sports at all. Maybe Brendan Gaughan, because he somewhat, dabbles in the fantasy stuff, but it's more for NASCAR.com and not for fantasy stuff. But here's an example. A few weeks ago, we were at the road course for the Xfinity Series, and Jeb Burton was having issues with the brakes in the practice session. Ran only one time lap, and said, just look, we're going to have to redo the brakes and stuff like that. He goes on SiriusXM NASCAR Radio, and I get a comment saying, you can't play Jeb Burton today. He said he doesn't have a chance. And I said, he didn't really say that, because I also have SiriusXM clearly because I'm listening to it. I can go back and listen. And so I go back, and the discussion is more so kind of casually speaking, so how you feeling today, Jeb? And he's like, I don't have a chance. And that's what it is. Like, I don't know where we need to stop caring about SiriusXM NASCAR Radio for any tidbits or nuggets or anything like that, especially when you're a driver on there. Like, we've had Joe Graff Jr. go on there and lie. We've had Jeb Burton go on there and just answer the question, hey, how you doing, in a sense of, hey, you got a chance to win this race today, which is no. Nobody is asking the real questions on that channel. It's not, hey, do you think how's your car doing today? Do you think you have top 18 speeds? Where do you feel you're at compared to the field on the long run on 10 to 15, 25 lap averages? Like, people don't ask those questions. It's always like, well, I see you got a new sponsor today. Happy to have you on board. Tell the fans hello. How you feeling today? Or how's the things going? He's like, well, and I believe this is, I don't remember the program. It's not, Moody's thing. I don't remember, like, forgive me on that. I don't remember all the program names on there, but it's the two duos. It's the two guys on there. They kind of go back and forth, and they talk to drivers, during the weekend, or sometimes they'll do it during the week, early in the morning. And, like, look, they're just there to have a good time as racing fans, as, like, just sitting around having a beer, having a good time. I'm telling you, don't rely on that stuff, man. A lot of that stuff is propaganda. Nobody's on that channel to make anybody look bad. Whereas I have, and really us as fantasy players, we have no affiliation to these guys whatsoever. I understand some of you guys are fans of certain drivers, but in the grand scheme of things, you're putting money on this stuff. You care less whether they care about you or not. You just want a return on investment. That's all it is. And so when you listen to a channel that is just constant, well, good luck today, or well, let's have a good time, or hey, so-and-so, we got David Starr on here. David Starr, how you doing? And David Starr's just like, well, I'm enjoying my Whataburger. I'm just here. I'm happy to be in Texas. Find me at the local Whataburger stand. And like, what are we doing? Can we not rely on that stuff? Now that we've gotten past, though, the driver interviews, really outside of Claire B. Lang, like I said, not good for DFS, but if you actually want somebody to ask questions that are actually worth listening to and giving time towards, she's usually pretty good. And certainly she's good if you're at the track and you want, like, you're either driving to the track day of or you're leaving the track, you've just had a fantastic weekend with your family, you're driving home. Hey, let me turn on SiriusXM NASCAR radio and just enjoy the moment a bit more. Claire B. Lang's chilling in confetti, talking to the winner, talking to other drivers who did good, having a good time in a fun way. That's how she does it, okay? Now, let's, I don't remember what it's called, but it's the Dave Moody Show, the program, The Godfather. I messed that up. Dave Moody I don't trust this man any farther than I can throw him. Secondly, the issue with his program, as much as I dislike Dave Moody, he's a fantastic broadcaster, like play-by-play. Dave Moody is good. His opinions, flat out garbage. I mean, you want to talk about somebody who is very, very contradicting and just says stuff to make a good program, which, look, I have done that as well. I not lie in terms of, like, play this guy over that guy, but I understand when you're doing a live show and you want to keep people engaged, you got to get them riled up and stuff. But in terms of finding any value in it, Dave Moody is just not there. I don't think he's very smart. I don't enjoy listening to him. And the people who call in are even dumber. Like, I know people think that's just the regular NASCAR fan. We need to, like, embrace those people. We need to stop that section of NASCAR. The people who call in to Dave Moody need to be put in the corner and just not acknowledged. You take the Dawsonville pool room, just pick them up. We don't acknowledge those people. I was listening, and it made me want to drive into oncoming traffic, which would have been very difficult because I'd have to cross a median, and I was traveling very early in the morning, so in oil field country, so nobody's there outside the occasional semi-truck that I would have to hit pretty hard to actually do anything because they're down on power, carrying so much weight behind them. Anyway, one of my favorite calls from this last weekend was a man who called in, and he's like, Dave, I just got done with this book, and, it was really good. It was about Tim Flock, and what a fascinating guy. What a character. And you could tell Dave Moody doesn't give a single shit, doesn't give a fuck about this guy, doesn't care. And he's like, yeah, Tim Flock was a interesting fellow back then. What a time. Him racing them I forgot if he raced in the Cadillac division or not, but him racing back then, early NASCAR, that is something. He was a real man's man. And then the guy goes back and he's like, yeah, he was just a good guy. Have you read that book, Dave? And Dave's like, I've heard about it. And it's like, what is this content? Like any other call-in radio show, anything else, you would drop that guy. You would absolutely hang up on him. That is terrible, terrible radio. And then it just continues to go. If you like cringe, maybe that's why it does. Maybe it's above my humor because it is cringy, and not in a sense that, wow, this is enjoyable. No, it's, wow, this is sad. Somebody please take the phone away from your grandpa. Like, let's get off of here. Let's stop talking about these dumb books. What else? And he was like, Dave, what other? I need a good reading this weekend. You got any other suggestions? And Dave, probably there with his cup of Jack Daniels, just being tempted to drink it live on air, being like, well, Earnhardt has a book. DW has a book. They're good. And the guy's like, well, thank you, Dave. And okay, so that was one. And then another guy calls in, and he's like, Dave, what's the issue with Roush Fenway Keselowski. I've been a fan of racing my entire life. I've been a fan of the 6-car since, that good Hall of Fame racer was in it. And it's been a very difficult time since the 90s and early 2000s. I've been here waiting for us to show some speed. I was excited that... I forgot his name. Oh, man. I can't even... Who? Everett. No, not Everett. Yates. Roush. Yeah, because Roush Yates merged with... Or Yates merged with Roush. Anyway, you get the point. He's driving on forever. And it's giving me brain damage reenacting how he was talking. And he was basically just like, I'm a fan of the 6-car since I've been through Mark Martin. I got put through David Reagan. I've been put through Ryan Newman. Keselowski's just as slow. What are they going to do, Dave? Why are they so slow? And then Dave is like, well, it's a different time. It's different racing. Like, how do people listen to this? And how do people call in? Like, this is terrible. It's horrendous. Like, is nobody else there? And I'm not even talking about how Dave reacts and doesn't like Dave is a baby. You want to talk about, safe space? I don't engage with these people. Like, first off, because people are like, why do you tweet so mean? I don't tweet at people. Like, if people see it, they see it. But I'm not tagging anybody in my tweets. I don't aim it at them. If they see it, they see it. But Dave is one I probably will never tweet his name because I'm afraid he'll mute me, and I at least want to see the fits that he throws on Twitter. Jordan, the other fantasy NASCAR guy that I did some live shows with earlier, he got in a beef with Moody, I think last year. I think he said something like shit or fuck in a tweet, and Dave was like, no cursing, he was like, language, what are you doing? Don't use them languages. Then he muted him or he blocked Jordan. And I'm like, Dave, what the fuck, dude? Are you like 12? What is this, elementary school? Like, what is going on? So Dave doesn't like anybody to argue with him. What else did he talk about? Oh, he was like, Dave went on this wild crusade, which part of him is right. We're getting down to where we might not have 16 winners, but Dave was just like, I told you dumb people that we're not going to have 16 winners. And if you thought that, you're a moron. You're just wanting that because it sounds interesting. Like, Dave, dude, I don't know how people listen to you. Anyway, NASCAR radio is pretty dog shit. The only shows that are worth listening to are the ones on at like midnight, to where it's people who, like, when Jeff Hammond used to have a show. I don't think he does anymore. He might. It's been a very long time since I've listened to him at midnight and stuff. But I remember the late night shows were actually more enjoyable because all the boomers go to sleep. All the idiots, all the dumb NASCAR fans are not listening at that time, and it's actually somewhat entertaining. But day talk radio, and certainly day of, you can't listen to SiriusXM NASCAR radio. You just can't. It's a waste of time. They don't say anything. They talk a lot, and they don't say anything, okay? You got to remember that, all right? So please, you need to realize that SiriusXM NASCAR radio is propaganda to make the drivers, situations, teams pretty good. And the people who interact with it, it's very rarely that they have any brain cells left. It's very, very painful to listen to. Not as bad as Race Hub, although I would not trust these two shows for fantasy stuff. That's just where I'm at, okay? So please stop telling me so-and-so said this on SiriusXM NASCAR radio, because if I go back and listen to it again, and it's clear as day, the guy is just communicating in a sense of, well, I don't want to make anybody look bad, I'm going to lose it, okay? Secondly, same thing with NASCAR reporters and things like that. Like, NASCAR reporters, if you remove them and put them in any other sport, even smaller scale sports, USFL, I don't care if it's Major League Lacrosse, I don't care. You pick any of these reporters up and just plop them in a different sport, they would absolutely be ran out of town. These guys are terrible. But Brandon, you follow Bob Pockers. You like a lot of his stuff. Why is that? Well, because the guy, while he does barely anything, at least posts the correct times when things start, because nobody else does. And I have to go through 15,000 word articles on websites to just determine when the motherfucking practice starts, okay? Like, at least he posts that. If Bob's useful for anything, there's that. But very similar to this previous week when the Truck Series raced at Mid-Ohio, no reporter on this entire earth until the race started. We're talking minutes away from the race started. We're talking about the cars pulling off the grid and then being like, remember, these are modified pit stops. Nobody's going to be pitting during the race, which I knew that going in. That's what I lean towards because that's whatever it happens. But nobody confirms this. Nobody reports this stuff. Why is it up to me to be like, well, it's been like this before. I haven't got jack shit confirmation or confirming anything. I'm going to assume it's that way. Like, what do you guys have to report? Nobody's at these tracks. You guys don't. The only time Bob Pockers walks up and down the track is when there's a new paint scheme. And it's so weird because he takes pictures of like 4 cars and then calls it a day. Like, Bob, it would not kill you to just walk up down pit road and get these pictures. Brock Beard makes you guys look like terrible reporters. Like, how is this your job? It pisses me off that these guys are getting paid as much as they are, and they have the amount of access that they do, and they don't do anything with it. Can you imagine an NFL sideline reporter just tweeting the most difficult stuff? Like, it's insane. It's absolutely insane. So the fact that I follow people, it's bare min. Like, it's because, wow, they're the bare minimum. We're scraping the bottom of the barrel for any type of reporting whatsoever. Moving on, it's insane that I think these guys have bigger egos than DFS players. Like, you want to talk about some assholes? It's the DFS players, man. There's a lot of people out there. And I'll be honest, in the past, I have been very much an ego whore. I have been very much like, fuck you, I'm the best, everybody else is stupid. And I understand I've said that maybe 4 times already about the SiriusXM NASCAR listeners and call-ins and stuff. But the people who have the biggest egos in NASCAR, it isn't the drivers, it's the reporters. It's insane how delicate these reporters are and how delicate their mental state is when they interact with people who aren't necessarily trying to be assholes, but just asking questions that they don't agree with. Like, it blew my mind. And I know this is about, 3-4 days away at this point by the time you're listening to this on Friday when it's up there. But Jeff Gluck bitching and moaning about his dumb race poll. Like, the fact that was this a good race poll has been looked as like the 10 Commandments baffles the shit out of me. It's the same way that NASCAR interacts with their fan base to get an idea of what people want. Like, I don't think I know anybody who actually gets emails from NASCAR of saying, like, not the survey, the fan council. There we go. That's what it's called. I don't know anybody in the fan council, even people that I have sources with in NASCAR. Like, I don't know who they're interviewing for, like, certain opinions on how NASCAR is at the time, but it's such a small bubble. And the average NASCAR fan, and this isn't insulting to any, I'm just explaining where a lot of people are. The NASCAR fan that stuck around in the 80s, 90s, and 2000s were very much mechanically informed people. Now, I'm not saying you can't be a NASCAR fan if you don't enjoy working on your own cars. That's not what I'm saying. I'm giving the fact that a lot more people knew what went into these race cars, what went into cars, and understood what went on in racing way more than the fans nowadays. Okay, when you compare the fans in the 90s, it was very much a situation of NASCAR resonated with people so much because it was a sport where, oh, I could do that. I want to be out there and do that. I'm going to, put more money to doing this, even at a local level, national level, whatever the case was. It was very much of, it's racing. It's one of the only sports that anybody of any age could be like, oh, I can do that. I can jump in and do that. Whereas now, I don't think a majority of NASCAR fans have even bothered to watch races more than 8 years back. Like, it baffles my brain. I remember Pierce, and he still says it every now and then, of like, man, we're going to look back at like 2018, 2015, 2014 as like the highlight days, you know? And same thing with this next-gen car. Have you people never watched a race from the 2000s? Like, have you guys never watched a race from the 80s, the 70s, when they're actually running around, when they were running, like, go back and watch races from Darlington in like the 60s, in the 70s. It's night and day. It's far more exciting. Single file racing is far more exciting, and they were double file. But when they're single file, that's far more engaging, fun to watch compared to the single file racing. Now you can see the drivers driving the cars. You can understand what went into them and what drove the attendance and what drove the interest in people. Nowadays, we don't have that in our fan base. We have these NASCAR YouTubers going out and talking about the 2000s like we have nostalgic goggles on, and due to that, you know, it was actually worse racing. Like, are we watching the same races? Are you, like, it's not nostalgia. Go and watch I'm telling you, go and watch a random race from 2004, and it's way more engaging. It's way more fun. This isn't just me talking out of my ass. Like, that's how racing is. That's how it was. So it's very ironic that these NASCAR YouTubers are like, well, you know, a lot of people like the 2000s, but that just has nostalgia on. The bad races were always there. What the fuck are you guys talking about? It's like these people at Atlanta this past weekend hating on the Xfinity Series race and being like, that Xfinity at the new Atlanta is the worst thing I've ever seen in my life. You know what? There's a lot of factors going into it, but the racing is not the issue. The issue comes from drivers who have never had to think more than half a straightaway ahead. When you compare this Atlanta and really how the Xfinity Series raced, it races like a plate race in the 80s. It wasn't even a plate racing. It raced like a super speedway in the 80s and 70s. Like, that it was not a bad race. I am fully convinced, and I will reiterate this again. I think a majority of NASCAR fans want nothing but crashes and pack racing. And I am on that too. I love wrecks and stuff, but you guys need to understand that this Atlanta race in the Xfinity Series was not a bad race at all. Like, it's not the track. Yes, the cars could race better at a lot of different races or a lot of different places, but the Atlanta race was not unwatchable. It was very much entertaining. It was very fun to watch, especially if you were like a true racer and you understand like the fun and the thrill of wanting to hop in behind one of those cars. You would have a blast in there. Like, don't lie. Like, that was a fantastic race. Anyway, going back to Jeff Gluck, this absolutely made my day, made my week. Jeff, what a certified boomer moment here. Like, Jeff, I find it very flattering that you think your dumb poll on Twitter is important enough for people to throw money at it. I hate to tell you that's just not the case. However, yes, people will troll polls. People, and yet again, going back, I can't believe that this poll has been viewed as like religious text, because if you pay attention to how the races are and then view the poll, I don't think these people voting, a vast majority of them, have ever been in a race car, have ever had a desire to go to a real racetrack, has ever had a desire to actually drive a vehicle or understand what real racing is, because people vote based on, oh my gosh, last week was so much fun. We were at Atlanta, you know, and then we go to Phoenix next, and you know, Phoenix just sucks. Like, okay, why does it suck? It's not just a yes or no question. You need to when people are just like, it's the track, destroy the track, you know. And while yes, Phoenix is a terrible track, it's also the car. Like, people vote with their emotions far more on the stupid poll than it is. I don't believe that it plummeted this much due to people buying votes. It's because people we're sick and tired of the Elliott talk. People don't like Chase Elliott, NASCAR. That's just how it is. Did you see the hate on the Dawsonville pool room? I'm so fucking far ahead of the curve. It baffles me. Years ago, Chase Elliott wins the race, and I'm just shitting on the pool room like crazy. I hate the Elliott fans. I think they're so dumb. If you're an Elliott fan, you are the absolute worst part of NASCAR. You need to be put in that corner and not engaged with. But look through Twitter. It was insane. People were like, we don't need to see Dawson in the pool room again. Oh, those pool room shots are terrible. Oh, don't show me these old people in the pool room. Oh, I'm so tired of this. Like, come on, man. I think there's a big part of people who vote on these polls based on their emotions. I also think, yes, people can be trolling. You can get a group of people together and very easily just spam a poll. You can have burner accounts very easily. You can have bots very easily. You can have scripts that, like, what are we talking about, Jeff? So, welcome to the internet. July 12th, 2022. Jeff Gluck was introduced to the fact that online polls may not always be the best factor of understanding. I don't understand. Like, going back to the NASCAR reporters and reporters in general, can you imagine any other sports reporters complaining about a poll that they do on Twitter? Hey, Mr. Sideline reporter of the Cleveland Browns, you seem to have a little bit different engagement on your Twitter poll this week. You know, how do you feel about that? Like, what? Are you kidding me? If anybody else in any other sport posted this, they would be laughed out of the industry. It's nearly identical to George Russell complaining and feeling bad that he got booed at a racetrack. Like, what are you need to get out of your bubble, my guy, my boys, Jeff Gluck, Mr. Jeffy Jeff. What are we doing? Who gives a shit? Like, okay, maybe don't believe that your poll is like the god among men of polls. Like, if it means this much to you, just keep it going, my guy. Don't be like, oh, I gotta find a different place to do it. What are we doing? What is going on, man? In what world is this? Why is this a story? What are we doing? It baffles me so much. And it's a reason why NASCAR annoys me so much. I enjoy motorsports. I enjoy racing. But the way NASCAR is covered by these guys with gigantic egos, I just don't understand. It's an echo chamber. It's a bubble. Don't even get me started on the NASCAR YouTubers. You want to talk about some bad fucking content? I'll give you some bad content. You know, like, what are we doing? And maybe, truly, maybe I'm jealous. Maybe, and I've talked about this in live shows before, maybe I'm jealous that I'm not smart enough to make this type of content and that I haven't gone into it. But, like, what are we doing? What? What are these? What are these? And sometimes, I click on them because I'm like, how ugly is this? You know who this was? This was Michael McDowell. What? Like, what are we talking about? Michael McDowell's been racing for like 15 years. Okay. Like, what are we doing? Why does NASCAR not retire numbers? What are we talking about? Like, is this even content? Like, what is this? Is he still... What are we talking about? What is this? Bro, like, this crap. Do you guys listen to these guys? Like... And going back real fast, I don't trash the DFS industry by name or content creators by name. And while I might share my opinions and stuff in Discord on certain guys here, since I am not a part of the NASCAR community or the NASCAR YouTuber community, I can crap on these guys very easily. The iceberg makes terrible content. Eric Estep is yet again propaganda. He covers stories, but he makes everything in a good light. And the fact that he looks at everything in such a naive point of view, and everything is great, everything is all, rainbows and gumdrops, it's not realistic. Danny B. Talks is a guy who just doesn't know what he wants to do. His content struggles, and he chooses the weird stuff. Like, do you remember when Kurt Busch announced his divorce and Danny B made a whole video on it, like talking about how a marriage should be, how he brings religion to everything? What are we talking about? He then deletes it and says, well, I'm sorry. Like, why even do that stuff in the first place? What is going on? Black Flags Matter. Like, if anything, he's the most annoying. He's the most annoying of the four. And he probably makes the most decent content that's still, like, eating nails. But, like, this is where I'm going to say my generation of NASCAR fans, because I'm 24, so I'm engaged in YouTube. I'm engaged on things. I get things recommended to me. I think this is another big issue. You have SiriusXM NASCAR Radio for the 35 plus viewers. You have this for viewers, around my age, or the Zoomers, and the millennials, and even the younger fans. Like, no wonder NASCAR is no wonder the reporters, the coverage, no wonder everything is just garbage, man. We're in an echo chamber. That's all it is, man. It's it drives me crazy. That's why if you've seen my live shows recently, I've joked around and would be like, I should do just a NASCAR show and just mail it in, and see how well and how big I could get just from that outside of the fantasy stuff. Just see what would happen. It just baffles my brain with this stuff. Or how much, like, when people, when they freaked out about Gragson wrecking people. Okay, now I understand. I enjoy chaos. I'm very much a chaotic neutral. And I understand that some people didn't like that Gragson, put Sage Karam, in danger, and that, Brandon Brown got injured. He got the wind knocked out of him, got whacked in the nuts by his harness. But, like, are you guys all soft? Like, and also, like, I go to NASCAR races. I don't know of very many fans that I sit around. Like, I go with my mom and stuff, but I don't go with, like, a group of friends. I'm always around different people. Who's buying these tickets? It's very much a older demographic of pull yourself up by the bootstraps, of, not taking shit from a lot of people. Like, and maybe it's because I go to Phoenix, and I will admit I haven't been to a different racetrack. But look, I know how the southern part of the U.S. is. I can very much identify and have an idea of what the Talladega fans would be like, what the Atlanta fans would be like, what the Homestead Miami fans would be like, and certainly what the Charlotte Motor Speedway fans would be like. And it is very much. Do you know how many Let's Go Brandon shirts I saw at Phoenix this last year? Like, these are not the type of people who are like, man, Gragson just took it over the line, like, these are people cheering, like, when Bubba blew a tire at Phoenix, they cheered. People were dropping the N-bomb. People were happy that Bubba wrecked. Like, it all circles back to the fans that we see online on Twitter and in the NASCAR YouTube community. I don't think accurately represent the people actually watching racing. I understand that. And man, this has been a long rant. I'm way off where I started. But I understand that, look, NASCAR's audience, yes, it is older than other sports. Now, it's golf, but it's older. We have fans dying out. But who is really showing up to these races? Yes, it's some younger people. And typically, I would argue that a lot of these older people, and I'm not trying to get into politics here. I'm just explaining where a lot of this lies. A lot of NASCAR fans lean towards the right way more than the left. When we see content on NASCAR and when we see things that are very much, looking at things of Gragson is just not the type of driver we need. We don't like Ty Gibbs because he's aggressive. it's very much coming from people who didn't grow up with, hey, let's be tough. Hey, let's actually have a strong mind. Like, I don't know, man. I and this year more so because I've decided to be more quiet on Twitter and stuff and on YouTube and really just focus on the DFS stuff. I've seen it almost being pushed more towards we need to, like, the whole Pride Month on NASCAR.com. It was very funny. I didn't see anybody wearing any of that stuff at the racetracks on TV, on pictures, on Twitter. Just didn't see it, you know? I'm not saying that people hate that, but people just aren't embracing it. When we look at movies that are clearly failing right now, you know, Star Wars Obi-Wan tanked, wasn't enjoyable for a lot of people. And you can see a lot of political leaning, you know, pushing a certain agenda. When we look at the failure in the box office for the new Buzz Lightyear movie compared to Minions, we see that Disney was trying to push certain things and people just don't engage. People don't want to go view that stuff. And so it's very weird when we look at NASCAR stuff and we look at content online and on Twitter, and then I go to the racetrack and I see a different demographic. I don't see and it's why I have so much fun with the Bubba Wallace talk. It's the reason why I'm trying to push. Anytime Bubba has an issue, just tweeting out or telling yourself, imagine being a Bubba Wallace fan, because he's vilified. People don't like Bubba Wallace. You know, like I don't understand why, you know, people keep, like, you know, pushing certain agendas and stuff. Man, I really have spiraled off the beaten path. But yeah, SiriusXM NASCAR Radio. Listen to it for fun. Don't listen to it for fantasy advice. NASCAR Race Hub, if you enjoy NASCAR, if you enjoy that stuff, watch it. But don't lean on that for NASCAR advice. It's very similar to, I don't even know if they do it this year, but like last year and the year before, they would have on the pre-race, before races, they'd build a DraftKings lineup. And it would be fucking garbage. It would be hot dog shit. Like, look, these people are paid. They're trying to put on a good show. They're trying to keep people engaged. They're having fun. You know? Bless their heart. Like Larry Mack, I love him as a commentator. I think he's a fantastic analyst. I'm not going to listen to him for fantasy stuff. Like, what are we doing? I like Claire B. Lang. I think she does a good job. I'm not going to listen to her for fantasy stuff. I'm not going to listen to her for advice on who to go with. Bob Pockrass, you know, the fucking guy puts out this is who I think can win. He puts Matt Crafton on his stuff. Like, what are we doing, guys? Like, just open your brains, open your eyes. Like, you know, be critical thinkers. Like, think for yourself. And certainly don't follow this stuff left and right. You know, I really am spiraling in circles at this point. Anyway, that just popped in my brain. Trying to give you guys more content since I'm out of town. Give you guys something more to listen to. So yeah, the whole Jeff Gluck poll thing and the fit that he's throwing on that is quite hysterical. Like, welcome to the internet, man. I don't know what to tell you. NASCAR reporters just mailing it in and not doing much and not giving us stuff that we want to see and that we probably need from really any other sport reporter. And yeah, just NASCAR YouTube is mailing it in more and more. And maybe, yeah, deep down, maybe I'm jealous that I'm just too dumb to make content like that. How dare I keep analyzing pit data when I could just make top 10 iconic NASCAR scheme videos and gain a ton of revenue. Like, it's crazy, man. It's absolutely crazy. Thank you guys for listening. Maybe enjoyed this. Maybe you're not even listening right now, but I do appreciate it. And yeah, thank you for supporting me and being here and listening.